Good morning and welcome to the Oracle Power PLC Green Hydrogen Project Investor Presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated in the right corner of your screen. Just simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to Naheed Memon, CEO. Good morning to you.
Hi, thank you for this, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Oracle put out an RNS yesterday updating the market on the development of our significant green hydrogen project, which is being developed in the wind corridor in Pakistan. And in relation to that, there has been very, very swift progress, and we updated the market in relation to that. And then we've also received questions, we've also received interest, over the past many days and weeks as to how we are progressing generally overall. So I think this, I would also take the opportunity today to sort of discuss our roadmap as to how we're going to progress and what we really do in relation to, of course, our green hydrogen project specifically, but also overall. So the roadmap that we use, and this is something that I guess we would like to sort of share with our investors, our supporters, etc., is that we, as a company, we are project developers. So we develop, right now we are developing a number of large projects, the green hydrogen project being one of them. So the genesis of the project is sort of within our company. We build it, we develop the model, we obtain all the necessary permissions, we set up the landscape for the development of the project. And the projects that we identify are relevant to the global trends. They are in demand. They are in alignment with what the markets in general need, require, and they have an intrinsic commercial value. This is the sort of the identification process that we undertake. Once the project is identified, it is built, we partner with only the largest companies, and that is, of course, something that we've already established. The partners that we have for all our own ongoing projects are either the largest utilities in the world, some of the largest companies in the world are involved with our projects. And then we sort of join the dots, we de-risk the project, which is very, very essential. And that is where we are very grateful to your support as well. So we de-risk the project, we develop it, and then we take it to a point where we are able to bring in the right financing arrangement in place, which involves debt from the market, banks, lenders, financiers, the big equity players. They come in and the project then moves towards what we call a financial decision, a financial close, etc. At which point, Oracle then has an option of either staying within that company or sitting in a small place within that company. But essentially, whatever it chooses to do, we as developers, shareholders, investors, stakeholders can then benefit from the potential upside, which then starts to fall into place as soon as the project starts construction. And we have demonstrated this. We've demonstrated it just a few weeks ago when we announced our Australian farm-in agreement with the Northern Zone project. And for that project, if I can just use that as an example, we built that project, we did the drilling campaign, we assessed, we sort of did all the investigative work. We took it to a point which then warranted further exploration and work. And at that point, we said to the market that we are now out there looking for the right JV partnership. And once we've got that in place, work can continue. And that's what we've already demonstrated. And I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to update the market of the next development for that project as well, using this model that I've just spoken about and that we put into place. And this is the model that we generally use and we will use for our project development going forward. And this is exactly the model that we're going to be following for our green hydrogen project as well. And I think now, if I can just take our shareholders and all our participants today through the update that we shared for the green hydrogen project in Pakistan that is currently being developed, and it is progressing at a very fast pace. And hence, I thought it's only relevant and timely that we do tell the market as to what we've really achieved so far in a very short span of time. So the last sort of update with respect to the investment decision that we had, investment MOU, non-binding albeit, leading to a JDA that we had announced, was with the State Grid Corporation of China, which is the world's third largest company by revenue, behind Walmart and Amazon, which is huge. And that, going back to what I earlier said, that we partner with the best of the best companies. So we've partnered with them, and they've come on board now to jointly develop the project at this stage and help us and work with us to de-risk it by completing the feasibility studies, which is very, very important, because that completes the exploratory work, investigative work, etc., take us to the next milestone in our project development methodology. So they've come on board, and the MOU which was announced had spoken about a steering committee. So the steering committee is now in place. We had a kickoff meeting with them. The steering committee, as had been announced, has 2 members from our side, 2 members from State Grid, etc. So all that is done. Our meetings have begun. The first meeting was held in March, on the 24th of March, in fact. And then going forward, what the State Grid Corporation of China has done is that it has nominated, commissioned, and funded the feasibility study for the power part of our green hydrogen project, which is the power study for the 1.2 gigawatts power, hybrid power, solar and wind, which will feed into our green hydrogen processing plant. So that study has begun. And once again, I reiterate this, we are already now in partnership with another company, which is jointly de-risking the project and jointly developing it. So that study has started. That study now parallel with the end of the ThyssenKrupp studies, which are for hydrogen and ammonia. So now in parallel, our hybrid power studies happening, and this will all start to come together. Our kickoff meeting for the hybrid power study has already taken place, and the company nominated for this is Shanghai Survey Design and Research Institute. It's one of the largest design consulting institutes in China, and they have a lot of experience in Pakistan. They have done many projects here, been partners, been consultants, etc. So, I mean, we are in like solidly well guided now as we proceed with this part of the study. I also would like to just update everyone on how the ThyssenKrupp studies are progressing for green hydrogen and green ammonia. The good news is that we've already had our midterm review meeting with them, which was held on the 31st of March. Then there was a follow-up meeting, and I plan to meet them again this week in Dubai with their VP of chemical processing, etc. And ThyssenKrupp, if I can just reiterate once again, they're not just our study partners. They're very much linked to the project now, and they are a company which firstly doesn't just come into any project. And I've said this before, but if they do come in, they stay. So their partnership is very key. It's very important. And it gives us not only credibility, but it gives our entire work that much more merit, because it is endorsed by the very best out there. So that is as far as our studies are concerned. In parallel, a bit of an update on some infrastructure arrangements that are being put in place, for example, water, and I thought that's relevant to just share so that the market is aware of how different things are happening. We've already done a study of how the water will be brought to our project site. We've got permission from the chief engineer of the province. The whole survey was done, etc. And now we are awaiting the final award, and when that comes through in due course, we shall be able to update the market. As you know, water is a key input for the electrolysis process, and therefore it is imperative that that too is put into place as part of our project development. In parallel, it is also important to sort of get the right projection on the global map. Green hydrogen is of course is something which is now looked at in many different countries in the world as being a very important developmental process as far as energy fuel is concerned. And there are, a number of very, very good and powerful alliances globally. And we became a member of one such alliance called the Desert Energy Alliance. And by the way, this was by invitation. We were recommended to this because we are really, one of the bigger players in the market as far as green hydrogen production is concerned. And the good news is that now we've been invited by them to present, not just participate, but to present our project prior to COP28, which is going to be held in Dubai on the 28th and the 29th of November. We'll be presenting our project. I've also been invited to speak at the CEO's panel conference, etc. So that also gives us a lot of protection. And this is very, very important because this is a part of our developmental process. This is how we actually put everything together, but then we also have to firm relationships with the best partners and to be a part of, to sit in a room where everyone who's serious about this development is sitting is a part of our strategy as well. So, I'm very pleased to also share that in parallel, a lot of these things also go on. And, at times we do share them, at times we wait for the right time to share them. There are other such developments which are in the pipeline, and I should be able to share those with you as well. All of this takes us forward. It's a part of the development process. It takes us to that point at which we start to then get the upside, which is closing all of this and completing the project as a de-risked, developed project, meaning developed to the extent that now the right partners are on board and construction can start. We are not going to start construction. We are just going to develop it and take it to a point beyond which the actual engineering, EPC companies, etc., all of them start pouring in because we have done the big job. We have put it together and we've arranged all the partners which can then start to get the work going. And then we get the benefit and we get the upside. And this is the model that we are following for our green hydrogen project as well. This is a model that we're going to follow for our projects in Thar as well, which are also ongoing. And, as we keep getting updates, we'll be very happy to update the market with respect to those developments as well. So I think that was the update that we wanted to share. And I'll be happy then to look at the questions.
Naheed, thank you very much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions just by using the Q&A tab, which is situated on the top right-hand corner of your screen. But just while Naheed takes a few moments to review those questions submitted today, I'd like to remind you that the recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. Naheed, as you can see, we received a number of questions throughout today's presentation, and if I could just ask you to read out those questions and give responses where it is appropriate to do so, I'll pick up from you at the end.
Thank you. I'll start with some of the questions which were pre-submitted. So the first question, and I'll try and summarize the question, and please forgive me for that because some of them are slightly long. But the first question is congratulatory, which is very nice, and thank you very much for appreciating some of the work that we do. It says congratulations on what we've achieved, and then it asks about are we closer to first revenues, etc. So I think that takes us back to what I have tried to explain earlier, and which is the model that we put the project together, and the revenues when you actually start selling the power or selling the commodity, etc., that's when the revenues start coming in. But as project developers, our upside starts way before that, because our upside comes from the premium that we get in actually putting all of this together and also deploying our capital, your capital, to de-risking the project. So as far as the answer to this question is concerned, we hope to see the results much sooner, hopefully, as quickly as we can deliver these projects and take them to the financial close point, or even before that, we should be able to start seeing upside, like we're now going to start seeing, hopefully, in our Western Australian project, whereby we've got a farm-in agreement in place. So revenues from that can actually kick in much faster, because if a mine is established, a JORC resource is established at Northern Zone, then you know what? It's just a case of taking the gold out, and we can all be celebrating that. So revenues, hopefully, from all our projects can be seen sooner in the form of a premium that we will start to get as soon as those projects reach some level of maturity. The second question that I can see is about the share price, and the share price has taken a battering, and how can you sort this out? And I'm a long-term holder, I'm told by this shareholder, and it is heartbreaking. And yes, it is, but we cannot control the share price, and I'm a significant shareholder as well. So this is something that we really do try to ensure that we are able to convey the true value of our company to the market. And but having said that, we cannot control the share price movements. Some of it is cyclical, some of it is really in relation to how the market is generally performing, behaving, etc. Domestic conditions, global conditions, etc. But of course, to whatever extent that we can do to ensure that the market recognizes the value that we keep adding and how valuable our projects are increasingly becoming, we believe that if that recognition becomes more and more, the share price will start performing better, and that's what we're all aiming for. And I can just assure you that we leave no stone unturned. As a company, we are trying our very best that every single penny that you put in and every single minute of work that we put in delivers. It delivers for you, it delivers for us. So that is our commitment, and we hope to show you the upside as we keep progressing. The third question is about funding. Well, we're a small cap company, and we have requirements, capital requirements. We try and manage those funds to the best of our abilities. We conserve cash as best as we can. Having said that, we develop projects. So, there is a need to maintain the company's general administrative position. There is a need to develop projects further. And from time to time, we believe that we have no choice but to sort of get more funding. And whenever that time comes, we do seek that out, and I can only assure you that we try and do it when it is most needed, and we try and do it at the best possible or in the best possible way that we can. There's a question about our website and significant shareholders list being updated more on a regular basis. I make a note of that, and I will convey this, and I will also look at it, and we will ensure that there is no complaint in relation to this again, and also try and ensure that the website is more reflective of all our work and more accurate in its depiction. So there's a question about, again, the funding, and I did answer that yes, that is something that as a small company, from time to time, we will raise funds, but then we will grow, and we want you to grow with us, and for you also to then benefit from the upside. We are not a short-term play at all. We develop substantial projects which will have a significant impact, and we promise you an upside in the shortest term possible. But of course, there are capital requirements during this journey. There's a question about our arrangement with Rivers Gold, and why did the JV take so long, etc. Well, we had actually initiated this discussion earlier, but these negotiations take time, and there is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. And as soon as we were able to finalize an arrangement, we proceeded and we finalized the agreement. And I think if there are more questions, perhaps then we can answer them in script form as they come, and if they're recorded, if that is all right.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for addressing those questions. And of course, as you mentioned, the company will review all questions submitted today and will publish those responses on the Investor Meet Company platform. But just before redirecting investors to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to the company, Naheed, could I just ask you for a few closing comments?
Certainly, of course. And there is just one other question which has just popped up, and I'll take it before I summarize about director share purchase agreement and why have we stopped buying shares as directors. I think when we exited that program, we did say that the only reason we are doing it is because of the administrative burden of that program. It was costing us a whole lot of money in terms of fees and the brokering arrangements that we had, and there were some regulatory issues as well, which still hold, by the way, because this is a kind of a unique practice, this kind of director share purchase, because it calls for a uniform blanket approval at the very beginning, etc., and then there are certain other issues with it. And because it had become administratively difficult and expensive, that's the only reason that we decided to exit that, and we committed to continue participating, and which we shall and which we will. But we are also in closed periods often, and we always need to go to the regulators for approval before we can actually participate or buy shares, etc. So we are, we just have to bear that in mind. But having said that, we remain committed. And I can also say that we are in the process of trying to see if we can find another program scripted in some way which works better, which is less expensive, that we can enter into. And my directors are very supportive, and we know that this is very important for us to demonstrate. So that commitment holds. As soon as we can enter into another program, we shall. And as far as direct participation is concerned, we remain committed to that as well, as and when allowed by the regulators. So that was that question that I just picked up. By way of summary, I am grateful to everyone who's participating today. I'm grateful to all our shareholders for their patience, for their interest, and for remaining a part of our story. I am committed, we are committed to making sure that Oracle grows into a large company. And the projects that we develop are meaningful, they're significant, but we also remain committed to ensuring that you get an upside. And that's why the model that we've spoken about today speaks to that. It speaks to the idea of a return that you wish to see. And it's not related to when the actual commodity gets onto a trading platform. It's about completing the development of a project, not the construction, not the actual. And this model is something that will start to deliver, and it already is showing you that, the returns much faster. So we are committed to that. And we are involved in big projects, and each one of them is, not less important. But of course, we have decided to develop more green energy projects. As a company, we want to prioritize that going forward. But we are also going to, come what may, try and close all the projects that we have on our portfolio in the best possible and the most lucrative manner that we possibly can. I'll be happy to take any other questions that our shareholders send through, and we will make sure that we address all your concerns to the best of our capabilities. Thank you very much.
Naheed, thank you for updating investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of Oracle Power PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation, and good afternoon to you all.
Thank you.